Recently we had a TV spot for Ahsoka called Begin. In it we see Sabine Wren wielding Ezra's lightsaber, as she did in Star Wars Rebels. Now Sabine is very well trained with sabers. She had one of the best mentors for it, Kanan Jarrus, the late Jedi Master of Ezra Bridger, father of Jason, and lover of Hera. Now while we've seen Sabine wield Ezra's lightsaber in the past, in Star Wars Ahsoka she's going to wield it against a Force user, something she's never done before, Shin Hati, Ivana Sagno's character who works for Grand Admiral Thrawn. And it seems like it's going to be a very intense, epic fight. Shin was an ex-Jedi, a survivor of Order 66 with her master Baylan.
Execute Order 66.
And Sabine is going to be very confident with the blade, but she herself is not Force sensitive. But in a way, what she's about to do is reminiscent of the first Mandalorian Jedi, the first wielder and creator of the Darksaber, Tar Vizsla. While Sabine is not Jedi, she is Mandalorian and has the unique ability to wield a lightsaber very well, and I was just thinking, what if she could be the one to train Grogu one day? Grogu is now Din Grogu, Force-sensitive Mandalorian apprentice. He may have given up the ways of the Jedi, but as we see in the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian Season 3, he's still very comfortable using his Force abilities, and given the fact he's going to live to be like 900, he might decide that one day, taking up a lightsaber again is going to be the right thing to do, even though he rejected Yoda's lightsaber from Luke. But now that the Darksaber is gone, and according to some of the rumors, Ezra no longer needs his lightsaber that Sabine has, he's taken up martial arts. What if one day Grogu wields Ezra's lightsaber, or maybe a new one, but Sabine is the one who trains him? After the Book of Boba Fett showed Din Djarin struggling with the Darksaber, and before he gave it to Bo-Katan in Mando 3, some fans theorized that maybe Sabine is going to train him, and that would have been an amazing sequence. But with Grogu's journey going forward seemingly leaning towards the Mandalorian side of things, Sabine would be a very good mentor if he ever chooses to take up the blade again. With the Darksaber destroyed, it would have to be a different saber, and while in the past I said that Ezra Bridger would make a great Jedi Master to Grogu, if he's not going down the Jedi path, he could learn a little bit from Sabine, as he's learned from his mum Bo-Katan, and yes, I like to call her his mum, and his dad Din Djarin. Meeting Sabine could be fantastic for him, and as I say, the reason I don't think Ezra would be appropriate at this stage is because according to the reports and rumours, he's changed a lot after being separated from Thrawn in the Unknown Regions, in the New Beyond, a brand new and unexplored part of this galaxy. Now we've explored in some depth what Sabine's journey looks like at this time. What has she gone through during her time on Lothal before they go and look for Ezra and Thrawn? And naturally with the lightsaber shots, a few questions have been raised in terms of how she sees herself, the kind of Mandalorian she's become, one who's been able to train almost like a Jedi without having Force sensitivity. Now going back to Grogu, I think if he masters using a blade and taming the mythosaur which was teased, he could be an unstoppable force for Mandalore in a few years' time. I think he's going to be the future ruler of the homeworld now that it's been reunited, and as I say, each of these characters from Star Wars Rebels and The Mandalorian serve a purpose in his life. I don't know if Grogu's going to be in the Ahsoka show, that could be a very strong possibility, and if he is, crossing paths with Sabine could be very useful for both of their stories, and her ability to wield a blade, a very interesting plot point. Now while Sabine does not have the Force, there can be no doubt Jedi played a significant role in her life. Not only did she travel with two Jedi, Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger, she's spending time with Ahsoka, a former Jedi who is on her own spiritual path. And it's been pointed out by many die-hard Star Wars Rebels fans that Sabine has mastered some of the Jedi's philosophy, notably giving up attachments for the greater good. Beyond her experience with Kanan training with the Darksaber, it was Sabine who helped Bridger put into action a plan that would see him sacrifice himself to beat Thrawn. And you could argue this was a very Jedi thing to do, so while as far as we know she's not Force sensitive, she does have a lot of those intuitions, and she was able to learn from the best. Ahsoka will once again see Sabine teaming up with a Jedi or former Jedi, and there's no doubt she's gonna learn a lot from Ahsoka's guidance. She's maturing so much, and across the 4 seasons of Star Wars Rebels, we saw so much character growth. She's maturing into an incredible character, one who is the culmination of all of her experiences, and that's why her duel with Shin is going to be fascinating to see. And while Mandalorians and Jedi are historically enemies, there's been a lot of overlap between their cultures. The Darksaber was forged by the first Mandalorian Jedi, and the Mandalorian show has recently shown us Grogu, who as I say, is a bit of an anomaly. While the armor says that Bo-Katan walks both paths, more liberal Mandalorians and Mandalorian orthodoxy, Grogu in his own way also walks two paths, very different though. Even though he's not an official Jedi, he does use the Force, something not too many Mandalorians do, especially nowadays. And some might say Sabine Wren could understand that as well. Now it is worth mentioning, during the Star Wars Celebration exclusive Ahsoka footage, we see the hand of an unknown Force user. Some are theorizing this could be Sabine. Is this going to be a Last Jedi situation where they prove that anyone can use the Force? Is a big reveal that she's going to be Force sensitive. In the Ahsoka trailer we see her meditating in front of her Mandalorian gear. Is she trying to connect with the Force? She certainly adopted much of the Jedi Order's wisdom and is likely going to continue to be shaped by their teachings in one way or another. During her quest for Ezra, interacting with Shin Hati and fighting those assassins, and also continuing her friendship with Ahsoka Tano, and maybe, just maybe, coming across Grogu himself. I wouldn't be too surprised if Dave Filoni has a few surprises up his sleeve. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. And so now, my dear friends, just to finish on a couple of Ahsoka tidbits. Dave Filoni has divulged the hardest part of working on the Ahsoka show, and that for him was making the show for an audience that knows her and those that don't, balancing what came before and what's really possible. Now, we spoke about this when Natasha Liu Bordizzo said the same thing, but a great solution in my opinion are flashbacks, because these allow you to show us what came before in live action form, explaining things which need context. Last year, Bespin Bulletin confirmed the Ahsoka show is going to include a flashback that is a live action adaptation of Darth Vader vs. Ahsoka from Twilight of the Apprentice. And then we had that wild rumour that they did cast a young version of Ahsoka for flashbacks, and that could show us a live-action version of her leaving the Jedi Temple. If there's any Clone Wars flashback we should see, it's that one. And of course there were rumours of a Mustafar sequence where Ahsoka puts herself in the place of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I think in this version, Ahsoka is able to convince Anakin to stay, to not listen to Palpatine, to not turn to the dark side, and to not want this new empire, but instead repair what is lost. Imagine what the galaxy would have been like if he never turned. That is something Hayden Christensen recently said he wanted to see. If they ever did a What If series, that was Hayden's choice, to see what would have happened if Anakin ran away with Padme, as she said in Revenge of the Sith, "Come away with me, let's raise our child." Basically, let's leave this all behind. So that was something that was challenging for Dave, and that's why some fans said, why not just for this series, just make it for the diehards, give us a show for those of us who've seen the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, The Mandalorian, give us a series that explores Ahsoka's life without worrying too much about what casuals might think. I'm not saying that's my point of view, but something some Star Wars fans put forward. But of course they have to appeal to the widest demographic. They're not trying to gatekeep, which is great, they're trying to make it for everyone, even those who've barely heard of her, so that's going to be really awesome, because I do think that could work in the favour of diehards, in terms of flashback sequences, and lots of references we know and love, but this time in live action. So share your thoughts on this and everything we spoke about in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, my dear friends, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell for notifications, and also, just a reminder that yesterday, I put out 2 videos. We react to the new Star Wars Outlaws trailer, which today gets gameplay footage, and in the first of yesterday's news updates, we also had some reveals by Timothy Zahn, Mandalorian news, and so much more. But until the next one, my dear friends, may the Force be with you, always.